Hello everyone, this is Erlyn Miranda of BPE1-A, and today I am going to discuss running events and track events. And there are 5 events to discuss. First is sprint, second is hurdling, third is steeplechase, fourth is walking races, and fifth is relays. Starting off with sprint. In doing sprint, we have short distance, middle distance, and long distance. Short distance is an all-out or nearly all-out burst of speed, the chief distances being 100, 200, and 400 meters, and 100, 220, and 440 yards. Next is middle distance. Middle distance running in athletics, track and field, races that range in distance from 800 meters, roughly 1/2 mile, to 3,000 meters, almost 2 miles. And lastly, we have long distance. Long distance running in athletics, races ranging from 3,000 meters through 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000 meters and up to the marathon, which is 42,195 meters or 26 miles and 384 yards. It includes cross-country races over similar distances. And these are basic rules and regulations in doing sprint. First is, sprinters should run in designated lanes and cannot cross lanes throughout the races. In sprints, athletes take crouch position, and in longer races, athletes should start the race from standing position. Number 2 is, during sprint races, the set position is taken on the next call, firmly placing feet on starting blocks and taking crouch position. Third rule is sprinters could not step on white lines that mark their lanes throughout the race. Fourth, athletes should not obstruct other athletes during the race. And lastly, for number 5, athletes may leave the track voluntarily before the races ends, but they cannot come back to the track, else they will be disqualified. Next is hurdling. Hurdling is sport in athletics, track and field, in which a runner races over a series of obstacles called hurdles, which are set in a fixed distance apart. Runners must remain in assigned lanes throughout the race, and although they may knock hurdles down while running them, a runner who trails a foot or leg alongside a hurdle or knocks it down with a hand is disqualified. In hurdling, these are some basic rules and regulations. First is, the jump is done as a part of the sprint motion, with one leg stretched out in the front and trailing leg bent behind the racer. Second is pushing the hurdle with the hands. Third is running out of one's designated lanes. And lastly, we have false start. Example, starting before the signal of the starting pistol. Next, we have steeplechase. Steeplechase in athletics, track and field, a foot race over an obstacle course that includes such obstacles as water ditches, open ditches, and fences. Runners of the standard course face a total of 7 water jumps and 28 hurdling jumps. Hurdles are 91.4 cm or 36 inches high, and one of them, which has a top bar of 12.7 cm or 5 inches, is placed immediately in front of the water jump, which is 3.66 meters or 12 feet long. And these are the basic rules and regulations in steeplechase. First is, the rules for steeplechase running allow the barriers to be traversed in any way that the runner deems fit. Second is, the water jump is usually situated on the inside of the last turn of the circuit, with the final hurdle after that in the middle of the closing straight. And lastly, competitors in the steeplechase must jump over obstacles as they make their way around the track. Next is walking races. Walking races are walking activity that ranges from a competitive sport, usually known as a race walking, to a primary and popular form of outdoor recreation and mild aerobic exercise. The technique followed in the track and field sport of race walking requires a competitor's advancing foot to the ground before the rear of the foot leaves the ground. And for this reason, the sport is sometimes known as heel and toe racing. And these are some basic rules and regulations in doing walking races. First is, race walking differs from running in that it requires the competitor to maintain contact with the ground at all times and requires the leading leg to be straightened as the foot makes contact with the ground. And last is, judges evaluate the technique of race walkers and report fouls which may lead to disqualification. All judging is done by the eye of the judge and no outside technology is used in making judging decisions. And lastly, we have the relays. Relay race, or also called relay, a track and field sport consisting of a set number of stages, usually 4, each leg run by a different member of a team. The runner finishing one leg is usually required to pass on a baton to the next runner while both are running in the marked exchange zone. In most relays, team members cover an equal distance. And these are the basic rules for relays. The baton can only be passed within the exchange zone, which is 20 meters long. Second is exchanges made outside the zone based on the position of the baton, not the runner's field, result in disqualification. Third is, passers must remain in their lanes after the pass to avoid blocking their runners. Fourth is the baton must be carried by hand. If it's dropped, the runner can leave the lane to retrieve the baton as long as the recovery doesn't lessen his or her total running distance. And lastly, runners may not wear gloves or place a substance on their hands to obtain a better grip on the baton. And that's all for the track and running events.